our December meeting, which we're going to have a little different format for that. And then we'll also vote on the topic for the January session, which I know seems really far away, but you know, as a former project manager, I'm always planning ahead. So what can I say? All right. So it looks like we have pretty much everybody here. So I'm going to go ahead and get this party started. So like I said, you are here today for the Platform Owners Roundtable. It's our interactive and educational session that we have for platform owners and anybody else who is interested in the topics that we're covering. And today we're going to be talking about organizational change management, one of the unsung heroes of IT implementations, in my humble opinion. And I think my colleagues here presenting might say some of the same. This will be our agenda today. We'll go through some introductions so you can meet the panel. We'll talk a little bit about how we're going to define OCM in this context for today. We'll talk a little bit about lessons learned and best practices. And then we'll head into the breakout rooms for 15 to 20 minutes where, like I said, you can exchange information with your peers, ask questions, share resources, all that kind of thing. And then we'll kind of come back to a little bit of an interactive time when we'll talk about tools that you use to manage OCM and any resources that you might want to share with the group so that I can gather those up into the presentation when I share that out and with the recording. And then we'll open up the floor if there's any other open Q&A questions that didn't get covered previously. And then, like I said, we'll wrap up. We'll talk about what the December meeting format is going to be like and vote for the January topic. So let's meet our experts here today. So you have me, of course. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Brita, and I've been with ServiceNow a little over 15 years as of October, and I spent 10 years in the field as an engagement manager, actually delivering projects, working with a lot of platform owners like yourselves. And now I'm in a role here where I work with the community to help provide content and education to help you along your journeys. So Paul, would you like to go next?
Sure, Brita. Hello, everyone, and good morning, good evening, as per your time zone. And I'm Paul Pratap Chandru. I'm ServiceNow Certified Technical Architect. I have around 10 years of experience within ServiceNow space, and I mainly take care of the architecting and enterprise architecting. Yeah, thanks.
Yep. And Daniel, how about you?
Hi, everybody. Yeah, my name is Daniel Falai. I'm a ServiceNow Certified Technical Architect and MVP. I have been a business analyst, a project manager, a change manager, and this topic is really very important to me. And I've actually been very, very interested and part of the people that wanted to see this particular area grow very well in my location and in projects in general. So I'll say thank you very much for inviting me here, and I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. And last but not least, Ishan.
Hey, hello everyone. Myself Ishan. I'm a ServiceNow certified technical architect as well, and a ServiceNow MVP. And unlike Daniel, like I've been on the developer side of things. So I started as a developer, moved into the consulting role, and then in architecture. So I deal with clients, helping them with their digital transformations, and also help with OCM. So that's why we're here today. Looking forward to the session.
Thank you all. So I think you can see that I've assembled a great team here for this topic. And of course, you know me, before we get started, we have to have a poll. So just to kind of get a feel for how you all think about OCM, let's go ahead and I'm going to open up the poll here, and you can put in your thoughts about what you think OCM is, and you can select more than one of the options. So the options are sending out communications, setting up governance, making sure everyone's trained, creating awareness, what's in it for me. So the voting is going hot and heavy here. And you can see that pretty much most of the topics are getting some love, but governance seems to be out in the front here, which is a good thing because I feel like a lot of organizations have a tendency to forget about governance. Creating awareness is coming in second, and making sure everyone's trained looks like it's a third, and then communications looks like it's in fourth here. So I'll let this run just a little bit longer so that we can make sure everybody who wants to has an opportunity to drop something in here. Ah, yes, and Christian says definition is different than the eventual execution. So true. Hmm. All right, well, it looks like most everybody has participated. And like I said, governance was our winner here. We got votes for all of them, but governance was first, then awareness, then training, and then communication. So interesting perspectives there. So next, let's move on to what we're defining as OCM. So I'm going to hand it over to Ishan here to kick us off on this.
All right. So we've got a beautiful definition of OCM on the slide on the screen here. But just to talk about from a real world perspective, we're talking about changing the processes, changing the structure, the culture changes. It's like we've all been there. We've all seen like the resistance from the users, like moving from they have been doing, like let's say they were on a certain platform and they are moving to a new platform. We see a lot of resistance, so they want to have the same things in the new world as well. But this is where OCM comes in, right? We have to OCM, like with OCM we have to minimize the disruption, help the people embrace the change and support the change as well. Now we will be talking through the session about how we can get on these lines. But yeah, the OCM comes across like where the process changes and we have minimum disruption, helping the people embrace the change and also celebrating with them. Having them as a journey with the even the end users, having them on the journey of this change that is going on, the transformation that's going on. Yeah.
So before we move on to the context of OCM with ServiceNow specifically, Paul or Daniel, did you want to weigh in on this generic definition a little bit, or anything to add here?
Yeah, I just want to add that this framework of how we manage this changes is something that is evolutionary. It's something that has to start before the project. It happens during and even after the project has been completed for you to really say it's going to be successful. So there's a lot of tools and techniques that you have to incorporate in each phase or gating process of the project to ensure you really get that results that you desire.
100%.
Yeah, I would say like OCM is all about structured approach of transitioning, from one state to other state. Maybe it's a team or organizations, decide change what we want from one state to a different desired future state in a structured way. I would say that's as OCM.
So then when we're thinking about it specifically in the context of ServiceNow, what are some of the other things that we need to take into consideration?
So starting with the ServiceNow context, OCM is a process of managing the changes, whatever we are doing on the platform, such as a new application or module movement. As you said, that it's a structured way of moving from one state to a different future state, with a clear communication, with having a strategy, strategizing your planning first, with an effective communication, and providing a comprehensive training to the audience who's going to accept that change, with a proactive resistance management. You understand what is going to get once we move from the state to another one, so that you should be having that anticipation of what the outcome is. So that way, that's what OCM is specific to ServiceNow.
Any other thoughts from the panel?
I think with respect to ServiceNow, there's a lot of expectations that should be managed properly via change management, because in a lot of ways, ServiceNow is known for effective workflows, effective processes, very solid and very good methodologies and standards. So post-implementation, there's a lot of new things that is obviously going to happen. So this is where change management really needs to happen clearly, with a very good readiness assessment, with clear goals and expectations, and most importantly, clear communication, because in a lot of ways, we're really going to automate most of the processes in service with ServiceNow. So with that might reduce the amount of current work in the legacy application that people will need to do in ServiceNow. So those things need to be clearly communicated in advance.
That's true, because the promise of ServiceNow is great, but sometimes the first implementation is not everything. And so you have to like manage those expectations that we're not necessarily changing the world right out of the gate. I think Casey made a good point in the chat talking about how a lot of companies know they need to do it, but then they tend to not have the resources available, or they pull somebody into it who's not really qualified or has the amount of time to handle it. And I'm hoping by the end of this webinar that a lot of you will be able to go back and articulate to your organizations why it's important to put time and money and resources into this. So any other comments on that before we move on here, team? Isolde is making a very good point here too, that there's a big difference between OCM and change management, which is another important distinction. And then let's see what else is coming in the chat here. Yeah, Casey's talking about an OCM impact. Oh, we might want to talk a little bit more about that later. So let's move on to our next poll here. So kind of tying into that topic, you know, what happens if an organization doesn't do OCM? And again, you can have multiple answers here in the poll. You know, are there going to be rumors about layoffs coming along? Users aren't prepared. The adoption of the system doesn't go well because people haven't been brought along the journey and they're very defensive about it, even though they'll have no bones about telling you how much they hate the current system, but they'll hate this one maybe even more if you don't do proper OCM. And maybe users creating workarounds because the system hasn't been properly configured. So those are just some of the ideas that I kind of threw out there from my experience out in the field of what happens when OCM is not considered. So we got a lot of great comments coming in here in the chat too. So failure to realize value. Yes. Achieve organizational goals. That's another good one. And Michael's pointing out, I have an option missing in my poll. We'll leave it to Michael, that the tool is not accepted and values not realized, sending a desire to switch again to something else, which I think we've all seen. I've seen it in the context with customers where, you know, you get on customer site and they're like, oh, we hate this current system. We can't wait to get into ServiceNow. And then by the time you're getting ready to, you know, closer to the end of the project, everybody's getting tired. And then they want to lift and shift from the old platform so they don't have to, you know, they're running out of time, and then they're grumbling, and you're like, why am I here if we're going to lift and shift? So let's do OCM and make sure that we don't get into that rabbit hole. But anyway, thanks everybody for these responses. It looks like adoption is the #1 problem that people see. #2 would be people not being prepared. And third would be customer or end users creating workarounds to get the work done. So I'm going to go ahead and end the poll here. And then, you know, based on what we've seen in the poll, I think this discussion will make a lot of sense here. So I'll turn it over to the panel here to talk through this.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead, Ishan.
Yeah, I mean, you know, like I think it's all revolving around the resistance and the low adoption rate. And, you know, the reason that happens is like the stakeholders or the, you know, the people who are going to use that particular tool are or the platform or the capability or the application are not, you know, involved with the team from the start. Like what are the pain points that they're having? What would they like in the new world? You know, like if they want something that they have been doing for a while, like we have to, you know, guide them that okay, so this was the old way of doing things, but this is the new best way of doing things, you know. So to get this adoption rate and resistance, you know, on track, like we have to have them. On I will be talking saying this line all the throughout the session. Have them as a journey with the team, and have celebrating quick wins with them. Like let's say we just implemented a small workflow. We have just got a form out for the team. Like let's say to request a laptop, we need to celebrate. Yeah, like we have got this automated, so now we don't have to go through the paper forms or get the form signs. It will just be fulfilled in a day. So we have to get that word out. How is platform helping? So yeah, over to you, Paul. Like saying something. Hey, Paul.
Sorry, I was on mute actually. So I want to continue about this resistance. When you're talking about the resistance, right? Without this proper communication or preparation, and we are opening up a new or probably a new change to the customer, and they feel very overwhelmed and anxious also. Sometimes it can decrease the morale and the productivity as well. And if they not understand the reason for a change, why we are doing it and how it is going to benefit them, or they're not able to adopt the new processes. Okay, so this will automatically slow down the implementation timelines, or probably like you want to share some reduced ROI. All these are a direct impact of OCM. If we skip, any organization skips this OCM, and definitely it is going to bring the poor change management, which can damage their employee morale and trust in the leadership as well.
Okay. From my end, I believe part of the major pitfalls that we really need to avoid to kind of at least manage that adoption rate is, first and foremost, we need to get senior management buy-in. Let them see it from that, yes, the top people in the organization support this, they believe in it, and they really, really want it to happen. And the next thing, as a change, because in different project settings, there's no fixed role for a change manager. Some organizations, some projects, probably very large project, might have a single person responsible for change management, but most times it's usually spread across the project manager, the business analyst, and everybody in between to manage that change. But most important, the thing that's really very important in ensuring that you are really successful in OCM is mostly being able to sell the new projects to them. Let everybody be able to see what's in it for me. What do I stand to gain if this works out? And in most project implementations, especially ServiceNow, there are usually a lot of rumors that are happening behind the scenes. What's going to happen after go live? Are there going to be layoffs? Are we going to be impacted? So that's where a clear communication plan is really very important, to clearly decide and outline how we are going to work during and after the project. So kind of give everybody a sense of belonging and allow everybody to be focused and have the same headspace, because I have been in previous projects before now that they have been clear sabotage. Employees of the same organization have deliberately tried to sabotage the project because there is no clear communication plan. Everybody believed, oh, this is an automation project and most of us are going to get fired once this is over. So they really wanted to sabotage the project. But with clear communication and effective buy-in by senior management, everybody is comfortable and they now gradually become change champions to kind of ensure that that project becomes successful.
Right. As you said, right, like in many projects, right, like when ServiceNow project is completed and want to go live, they are treating this as an announcement, that this platform, these features are going as we are going for a change, and this is 3 or 4 process or 4 features we are coming in ServiceNow. Like that kind of an announcements are mostly done. But what I would suggest is, like, rather announcing this as 4 or 5 items going live like that, but we need a dedicated OCM or kind of a change management, or probably a organized change management should be engaged, and they should be given all the what is the pros and what is we are going to do without this functionality and with this functionality. So those kind of clear vision want to be propagated to all the and the end user who are the consumers of those applications. So those kind of informations, right? Like it is a more give a more benefit to the users, and that will improve, the resistance, and it will increase adoption rate also. They will try to use it. They will try to use it. Okay, this is what we are using now, and we're adding these 4 or 5 features, going to increase our what do you say, increase our work, or probably whether it's easy or work. All those information need to be there in that OCM channel, which need to be communicated. That's what I see. That's
Yeah, and I've also seen some organizations where they try to limit who they're communicating to as they're
Yeah.
working the project because they think it'll go faster. But what I've generally seen in that situation is then when you get to the point when you start communicating in UAT or training, that's when all the flags go up and the resistance goes full bore. And you realize you've built something that doesn't meet the user needs because you haven't included all the right people. So lots of pitfalls here and lots of great comments in the chat around this as well. But let's move on to some of the best practices around OCM so we can try to avoid some of those pitfalls. So like some of these things have already been mentioned, but I'll let the team elaborate on maybe their particular best practice that they have heartburn around or passion about.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, we've been talking about this, like we have to involve everyone from right from the start. So, something that to highlight here is, when do we start planning OCM? OCM will not be, started when we start off the project. I mean, we have to be way before that. So there have to be early communications, like this is something in plan, it will be starting. We will have some pre-go live stages, go live stages, post go live stages. We need to have a dedicated team where to make effective communications, right? Let everyone know, hey, this is coming your way. And we also need to let them know, what value it brings to the team, rather than Daniel was talking with a very good point. Most of the time the teams are resistant because they think that it's getting automated, that the task that they are doing in their daily life is going to be taken away, and they might lose their job. So we need to be upfront, like this is just going to make your job easier, right? So we need to give them that this is the value it brings. And to this to start early, do this communication, what we have to do is we have to assemble the expertise. We have to set up the OCM team with a lead and people with the relevant team. And again, sometimes what happens is companies come back that we don't have a set budget to set up a OCM team. It doesn't have to be like we start hiring new people. Like we can have people within the organization, but just segregate the duty so that some people are taking care of the communications going out, what's happening with the project, where it is at. And also, once the team is set up, we need to understand the concept, what exactly are we changing, what impact can it have. Like, let's say if we are updating a network bridge, right? And uh, uh, maybe the services would be down for 2 days. So we have to do all those impact analysis as well as a part of OCM. And while we are doing this, we need to outline the change plan, the communications. We are talking about having the users on the journey. So a part of the journey is also providing them relevant training, because there's a way that they have been doing things in the past, and now that will change. So there will be a lot of new changes coming in. And like while we are doing all this, we also need to think about managing the risk. We need to have a metrics to document all the risk. What happens if something goes wrong? What plan do we follow to mitigate the risk? And once we have documented all that, like we also, during the project, when it's we always have a user acceptance testing phase. So we can also have like we don't have to go like big bang. We can have like small group of users, maybe a small team or two, start using the product, getting feedback from them, because they are the end users, right? They'll be using the product day in day out. After it's gone live, the team will go away. So having those pilots as a part of the project, and once we have gone live, because these are the users that they were with us on the journey, we also need to celebrate with them after they go live, and yeah, maintain the continuity. So after we have gone live, and continually improve as per the feedback, new changes, enhancements, manage the hypercare. Yeah, so that's uh, that I have on the best practices. Daniel, Paul, Rita.
Okay, I will jump in now. And my perspective of best practice is usually to start with some kind of a readiness assessment to see how we are prepared for this upcoming project change, new feature, new application that's happening. Usually, the project manager is usually selected in advance before the project starts, because a lot of projects, you might not have a dedicated change manager. Not all projects have that opportunity to have a dedicated, but most of the time, the duty of the change manager sometimes resides with the project manager to kind of ensure all those processes are practically followed step by step. So in those scenarios, that readiness assessment, in terms of surveys, are they ready? What are their expectations? A few things in between. Then along the line, there are some documents that should at least start being developed, and they should be evolving, like a communication plan. There should be multiple communication plans to people in the organization, the users, to the major stakeholders, not just the internal users, but obviously you might have external users too, like your regulators, like some of your vendors. Those people might really need to know what change is happening. For example, if you're doing an application that's going to affect your vendors and your third-party people, it's something they really need to know quickly. It's not when after you've go live, you just start using this without letting them know. Let everybody know that how you're going to kind of transition them into that process in terms of training, in terms of what's going to be the next steps. And but one key thing to me that really makes a lot of projects really fail in terms of OCM, there are a lot of them, but we don't seem to measure those specific KPIs that really tests how the change is really being implemented positively, how people are being accepting or resisting the change. And in this scenario, we expected to do some kind of a post-implementation evaluation to evaluate probably the rate at which people are using the application, how long they're staying logged into that application. Different parameters and KPIs are usually kind of used in these scenarios. And to me, it's a lot of communication. There's no lack of communication in OCM, but most importantly, you are not just saying things that people want to hear. You are really selling it. You are deliberately letting them see in that communication what they stand to gain. Everybody is usually uncomfortable to use something new compared to what they've been using for the past 10, 15, 20 years. So when you're coming in to let them know you're going to uproot what they've been doing forever and bringing in something new, you really have to justify it and let them see how it's going to be beneficial to them. So that's, to me, is a high-level summary. Hopefully, I would give more information in the breakout session. So over to you, Paul.
Thank you, Daniel. That's a good point you highlighted here. So I would talk about, like one point which may hidden in this all 7 bullets. So one is like measuring your OCM effectiveness. After you go live and you celebrate all your go live success and maintain the continuity, the OCM measuring how your OCM has been created an impact. So that is important. I would say that by setting up some key performance indicators to see whether what is the difference between your pre-change, what is a pre-change KPIs, and your employee satisfaction surveys, or you can conduct some surveys to understand the benchmark. And post your OCM has been done, let's have some setting some qualitative metrics to understand what is a KPI after the change has been done, and what is your employees thinking as a service, and maybe like you can check about how clearly the communication has been made and the impact of the overall, how the organization feels the impact after going all this OCM has been done. So that plays an important role to understand, or probably like to make or measure the OCM success. So that the positive scores, that only will prove that this OCM is successfully done, and that creates a more impact to the end users actually. So that creates all your return of investment, or whether it's you're using your tools, technology, new technology bringing in. So those all going to bring more added values when your OCM is successfully measured and effective measured post go live.
Great comments, everybody. I'm going to have to move us along here, though, so we can have some time in the breakout rooms. So I'm going to go ahead and set out the breakout rooms. You'll be automatically assigned to one. It will be a pop-up window. So if you have pop-ups blocked, you might, have to unblock those to make sure that you're getting into a room. And I was going to try to put a timer on the rooms, but I clearly did not do that right. So we are at 10:34. I'm going to put you in the breakout rooms for 15 minutes. So whatever your time zone is and your time wherever you are right now, just think being in the room for the next 15 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the rooms now, and I hope you all have great conversations.
Hi, Brita. Do you have a preference which room I join?
I'm just going through and assigning. If you want to jump on 4, that one doesn't have a moderator.
Perfect. I'll go in.
Thank you. And Yvette, I will.
You want me in one too?
Yeah, I think, let's see, Sarah's on that one. 3 is Ishan. So 5, Yvette, if you could go into 5.
You got it.
Thank you, ma'am. And Lisa, we can go into 6. How's that?
Okay, cool.
Of your I think it's gone. Okay, be back.
So
Oh, we were just kind of having some very awesome
Yeah.
discussions before you just dragged
Sorry.
us back.
I was in the middle.
Same
It
here.
seems we were
Middle
like
of some
taking like
discussion, we came
in the
back.
end game, like the Avengers end game, when they're just taking people away by force. You
I
just
know.
saw us, we
I
just
was
got
like,
taken
oh,
away.
I'm sorry. The reentry is always rough. I'm really sorry about that.
Yeah, we are really having some very good discussions there.
Yeah, but we do have a little bit of time for Q&A. So if anybody, if there's anything you want to bring up, if there's any conversations you wanted to finish here real quick, and then, I gotta get us through the wrap up. All right. Well, we can have another quick poll here. Want to know, what are some of the tools that you all use to and strategies you use to manage OCM, and I will collect these so that I can share this out with everybody who attended. So if y'all want to put in some short answers here, that would be really, really awesome. And don't be shy. And I think because we are running out of time, unfortunately, because we always get into these, there's always so much to cover. I'll keep moving along here while you can, I'll leave the poll open so you can continue to respond there and give some time to think about that. But just to recap, you know, OCM is a program and it needs to be managed as such. It's not something you kind of do on the side. I think we've stressed a lot that OCM starts as soon as you know you're deploying a new product, or as in our breakout session, if you could start including people when you're actually looking for new products so that they can get input on that, that would be even better. And then using OCM provides you with a framework that you can use that every organization is going to obviously do this differently. We have some resources that we'll share in the deck that will help you with some templates and some ideas of how to use the framework, as well as some training that Daniel recommended that he has done that helps people just really become OCM managers. Another key thing is to turn your detractors into champions, because they're very vocal people and they have a lot to say and they get a lot of attention. So better for them to be bringing attention to the great things that are coming in the platform than having them pointing out all the potential flaws. And the way you can really turn these folks around is you really have to sit down and listen to them. You can't just try to shut them down, which is a tactic that I have seen that is not usually very successful. So don't be afraid, go into the lion's den and talk to them. Don't skip on the investment, financial or otherwise, with people, because that is always going to come up short. As I mentioned in our breakout room, when you get to nearing the end of the project, oftentimes you're over scope, you're running out of budget. And so OCM and training are the first things that get skimped on, which are, you know, exactly the areas where you don't want to skimp. And lastly, you know, doing OCM right before the go live is most likely not going to be successful because you haven't brought people along the journey. And also people need time to adapt and prepare for change, because face it, the majority of people are somewhat resistant to change. And so you have to bring them along that journey with you. So I'll open it up to Q&A here for a few moments. If there's any burning questions that anybody did not get answered, if you want to put that in the Q&A, and I can bring you off mute to ask that question. Okay, looks like Ishan is handling the question here from Temi. Any other questions? All right, then I want to talk about next month's format. So I'm going to be on an extended vacation holiday. And so next month we'll take a little bit of a different format. What I want to do is have you each think about what's the best career advice that you had that helped you be successful in your tech career, and then to create a meme about it. And we'll talk about and share those memes during the meeting. So you can share these gifts, so to speak, with other people, because it is a time of year where a lot of cultures are celebrating gift giving. And once I get all of those from everybody and I come back from vacation, I'll put those into a scrapbook that I can share out with you all. So that way nobody has to prepare for next month and carry a topic, because I know we're all getting into that busy last end of the year time. I am not great at creating memes, but this is an example of maybe what I'm thinking about. I'm sure many of you are much better at creating memes and a lot more creative than I am. But one of the best pieces of advice I got was, what wasn't really advice, it was a comment somebody made to me when they sent me off to a project when I was doing temp work. They're like, well, you can figure out this computer system. And that's when I realized that I had an aptitude for technology. And that was an aha moment for me. So whatever your best thing is, or your aha moment is that you'd like to share with other folks, get creative and have at it. And then the last thing I have for today is we need to figure out what topic we want to have for January, because it'll be here before we know it. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to close the poll that's open, and I'm going to open our last poll for the day. And this is where you can vote for some of the topics that I have here pre-filled in, or there's a second question that you can fill in a short answer if you have another topic that you would like to vote for here. So I'll give you all a little bit of time for that. And you know, if you have any other questions you want to ask in the last couple of minutes here, throw them into the chat. If we don't get to any of the questions before the end of the call, I'll send those out to the team and we'll include that in the deck. As well as I would like to try to capture a lot of the chat comments. I think there was a few people that were making some really great suggestions and offering some experience there that others could learn from. So I'll be trying to capture those for you and include that in the deck, which will be shared in the Platform Owners Roundtable discussion area on the community. And I'll give you folks just a couple more minutes here to vote on your topic for January. But right now it looks like requirements gathering is out there in the lead. So if any of you want to volunteer to be on the panel to talk about requirements gathering, please ping me after the session here today, and I can start assembling a group to talk about planning for January. I hate to think about January, it's only November. And last but not least, we want to leave you with a few resources here. These will be also in the deck that gets sent out and posted with the recording. I'm sorry, I should have made these QR codes so that you could grab these. My apologies for putting in a link here, which is not really that useful to you. But the first three go to some content on the Customer Success Center that we have on ServiceNow.com. And the last one there is that OCM certification that Daniel has recommended that would help folks who are finding themselves running OCM or in that position. So we are about 2 minutes away from the top of the hour here. Last chance for any comments from the panel. Do you have anything else you want to, parting remarks you want to give to the audience here?
I just want to say thank you very much for everybody that took time to come today, and to say OCM is not just a project thing, it's a lifestyle. It's something you have to constantly think about even before a project comes around, and it's about connecting with people, ensuring people are constantly on the same page with you, and looking for ways to continuously improve whatever you're doing. And that's the major summary from my end. Once again, thank everybody for showing up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to me as well. Like, thank you everyone for, the chat has been ongoing. I don't think I've been able to catch up with all the messages as well, but hope we have answered or answered all your questions. And thank you. Really, really amazing.
Thank you all for this, for the wonderful event in this. So as I said, right, OCM is not a buzzword. It is a discipline for your effective organization success. Thank you all. Catch you again in some other good topics. Thanks.
All right, thank you panelists for doing such a fantastic job, and my moderators, and we'll see you all in December with your memes. All right, so I hope everybody has a great month, and we'll see you next month.
See you
Thank
then.
you. Thank you. Bye.